Good evening, you're watching London Live News at 6 with Alicia Edwards. Coming up tonight, as the inquest begins, the father of a 14-year-old girl from Harrow who took her own life after viewing graphic content online has urged action to prevent such a young life being wasted again. Gambling giant Betway fined more than £400,000 for advertising on a children's page on West Ham United's website. More to come on that story. We'll have an update on London's weather in the next 10 minutes. Plus, former Strictly dancer Ola Jordan on juggling motherhood and career aspirations. And filmmaker Mike Leigh lifts the lid on his creative process and more in a series of Q&As here in the capital. All of that on the way before 7 o'clock. But first, the main headlines for London this evening. The father of schoolgirl Molly Russell has urged action to prevent such a young life being wasted again as the inquest began. Ian Russell spoke at North London Coroner's Court, mentioning the torment his daughter must have endured before her death in November 2017. The 14-year-old from Harrow is known to have viewed material linked to anxiety, depression and self-harm on social media before ending her life, prompting her family to campaign for better internet safety. A coroner was told Molly watched videos uploaded by a YouTuber who spoke about suicide and depression on a regular basis, and who also has 15 million followers on Instagram. Senior employees from social media giants Meta, the parent company of Instagram and Facebook, are due to give evidence in person during the inquest, which is due to take place over the next 2 weeks. A 90-year-old man from Orpington who repeatedly stabbed his blind and ailing wife after she woke him up in the middle of the night has been given a suspended prison sentence. Edward Turpin attacked his wife of more than 60 years at their home in September 2021. He was previously cleared of attempted murder and wounding with intent, but convicted of reckless wounding. The retired butcher told the court he had stabbed her in an attempt to calm her down and make her stop screaming. He was handed 2 years custody, suspended for 2 years. The gambling firm Betway will be fined £400,000 by the Gambling Commission for advertising on the children's section of West Ham Football Club's website. The betting company was allowed to advertise on the club's colouring in page for 18 months, with some links containing free bets. Well, Tom Fleming from the Big Step campaign to end all gambling, advertising and sponsorship in football, which is part of the charity Gambling with Lives, gave us his reaction.
It's important to note that they weren't alone. West Ham were one of 9 clubs, so there were 8 other clubs found to be doing the same. The direct links to the gambling company's websites were actually on the club's websites for 18 months, and it took a BBC story to force action of them to take these links down. So by that point, the damage was already done. These gambling sites, as a result, they get millions of hits every day. So sponsorship clearly works, which is something that the gambling lobby dispute and say that sponsoring a football team doesn't increase participation in gambling with that operator, which we know is not true. And it's impossible for gambling companies not to advertise to children as a whole by sponsoring football, because kids watch football, kids go to football. If you're a West Ham fan and a child and you go to the West Ham stadium, you see your players, you see your favourite players decked out in Betway, you see Betway all over the stadium, it's inescapable. The fine is pretty paltry, to be honest, £400,000 just over the company that owns Betway. They reported a 45% increase in revenue last year, and I think that takes them to well over 1.1 billion profit for the year, net profit. So 400 grand is pretty paltry, really.
There we are, Tom Fleming there. Some other stories from the capital today. Westminster Council claims it is waging a war on dirty money. It comes as the council exposed the extent of business rates evasion by some of the US-style candy stores and souvenir shops operating on Oxford Street. A total of 30 stores are currently under investigation for business rates evasion of around £8 million. The council is set to take the first step by passing a motion that approves signing the Fair Tax Pledge to ensure transparency in tax. Well, as strikes planned for the railway network threaten to impact the London Marathon next month, more than 2,000 London bus drivers are also preparing to take action. Members of Unite, employed by Arriva, will walk out over pay after the marathon on the 4th of October. The firm says its pay offer is higher than any other London operator. It will mean there'll be no services from Ashgrove, Barking, Clapton, Edmonton, Enfield, Palmer's Green, Tottenham and Wood Green. Boris Johnson was among the group of MPs to pledge allegiance to the King as the House of Commons met for the first time since the Queen's state funeral on Monday. The former Prime Minister was the 15th MP to take an oath of allegiance to King Charles III.
I swear by Almighty God that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles, his heirs and successors according to law. So help me God.
Former Prime Minister Boris Johnson there. Well, following the Queen's state funeral on Monday, people have been seen queuing to visit Westminster Abbey to pay their respects. The Abbey's usual £25 entrance fee for adults has been waived today and tomorrow to allow people the opportunity for private prayer and reflection. Visitors are invited to light candles for reflection, and a prayer is said every hour for the Queen. Next year's BAFTA Film Awards are going to be held at the Royal Festival Hall, it's been announced. The annual ceremony, which will take place on the 19th of February, moves from its previous location of the Royal Albert Hall, which has hosted the event since 2017. Organisers have said the move is to London's South Bank Centre, and the Royal Festival Hall will see BAFTA's programming in its most ambitious and accessible night yet. On to some sport now, and tennis legend Roger Federer is gearing up for his last ever tournament after announcing his retirement from the sport last week. The Laver Cup is an international competition between two teams, Europe and against Team World, and it's at the O2 this weekend. Rafael Nadal, Novak Djokovic and Andy Murray will be in action against Bjorn Borg and John McEnroe, the two captains. Some huge names from the world of sports there. The 20-time Grand Slam champion Federer was excited to be playing with the greats of his era, but also a little nervous to step onto the court for one last time.
Yes, it is a very special occasion. It's going to be a crazy week, but a good one. I'm looking forward to it. And having Novak, Rafa and Andy there obviously adds even more to it all. It almost looks like I organized it this way, but I really didn't. I was just really happy that everybody was eager to play. We have never had Andy on the team, and so having him on the team is going to be very special. I know it. Especially with what he has gone through in terms of injuries, and then I think me too announcing it. I think we have a lot to talk about. Novak and Rafa, of course, great champions, and having them on the team feels so good, you know, just knowing that they're going to be there. So a lot to look forward to.
There we are, Roger Federer there, and the Rod Laver Cup gets underway on Friday. Right, it's time for a quick check on the weather now. Staying dry overnight, lows of 12 degrees. A cloudy day tomorrow, highs of 20. And looking ahead to Friday, a mixed bag of sunshine and showers. The rain coming in early evening and overnight into Saturday. Looking ahead to the weekend, highs of 18 degrees. Cloudy again on Saturday, but it's looking like there are some patches of sunshine on the way on Sunday. And just before the break, these pictures from London Zoo. This trio of critically endangered tiger cubs have had their first visit from the zoo's vets, who were finally able to confirm the sexes of the cats and give them their first health checks. All three were given a clean bill of health, information which will help protect the species moving forward.
Today we were able to do the first health checks on our 3 new tiger cubs, which was very exciting. As you can imagine, we don't often get a chance to get up close and personal with the tigers, but it meant today we were able to have the privilege of being able to go in with the cubs and see them performing all their natural behaviours. They weren't quite as excited about the experience as we were, so we were able to see them practicing lots of natural behaviours, such as sort of hissing and raising their claws up and stuff like that. So that was really useful for us, and we were able to see that they were all fit and healthy. Give them their first vaccinations, and confirmed that we had 2 males and 1 female. So that was great news. One of the males was 9.3 kilograms, the other one was 8.25 kilograms, and the female came in at 6.7 kilograms.
It's really important that we give them vaccines just like you would your pet dog or cat to protect them from viral illness. They will be getting antibodies from their mom as they're nursing the milk, but as they begin to wean off of milk, we want to boost their immune system with vaccines. So they will need a series of vaccines when they're young.
Some very sweet pictures there, Lucy and Amanda there at ZSL London Zoo. It's time for a break now, but don't go anywhere, because coming up, Ola Jordan on why women are waiting longer than ever to start a family.
From breaking news to headline events, the latest trends and places to be.
You can now keep up to date on daily life in London across London Live's social platforms.
Start the day with an update on the travel and weather, and know what's on around the city and what's being seen by others.
With stories from London Live's team of reporters and your videos of the news moments that matter.
Minute by minute. That's London Live News on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and more.
Find us at London Live. From breaking news to headline events, the latest trends and places to be.
You can now keep up to date on daily life in London across London Live's social platforms.
Start the day with an update on the travel and weather, and know what's on around the city and what's being seen by others.
With stories from London Live's team of reporters and your videos of the news moments that matter.
Minute by minute. That's London Live News on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and more.
Find us at London Live. From breaking news to headline events, the latest trends and places to be.
You can now keep up to date on daily life in London across London Live's social platforms.
Start the day with an update on the travel and weather, and know what's on around the city and what's being seen by others.
With stories from London Live's team of reporters and your videos of the news moments that matter.
Minute by minute. That's London Live News on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and more.
Find us at London Live.
Hello there, welcome back. Time now for a look at some other stories affecting Londoners today. Businesses across the country will see the government pick up nearly half of their soaring energy bills. The wholesale cost of gas and electricity will be slashed for companies under the scheme, which will run for 6 months starting in October. The government will also cap the wholesale price paid by non-domestic customers, which includes schools, hospitals and charities. Prime Minister Liz Truss said the package of support to protect firms will make sure businesses are able to get through the winter. Train reliability has reached the worst level on record. The industry's cancellation score during the 12 months to August was 3.7%. That's according to analysis of Office of Rail and Road data found by the PA News Agency. That was the poorest reliability in records dating back to 2015. Strikes in disputes over jobs, pay and conditions have caused a surge of cancellations in recent months. And another record for August. New Chancellor Kwasi Kwarteng has been dealt a blow ahead of his mini-budget, as official figures revealed higher than expected government borrowing last month as its debt interest bill soared. Interest due reached £8.2 billion during the month, which is £1.5 billion more than last year. Now, former Strictly star Ola Jordan has been opening up about her experience of struggling to conceive and IVF. It comes as a new survey shows British women are holding off getting pregnant. The findings from IVI London follow ONS data published last month, revealing that the fertility rate is now the second lowest it has been since records began. Well, Ola believes women are often blamed for putting their careers before family, and she told me more.
There's 50% of women nowadays are delaying having children. That's a big number. That's a lot of us delaying children. I mean, I'm the first one to say, you know, I've delayed having my child. I have child later in life, and which wasn't easy to conceive. I had to go through IVF, and a lot of women put it away because cost of living, COVID, the war in Ukraine. It's just warring times for everyone. So yeah, everyone is leaving it a bit too late now.
You touched upon it there, but what was your experience of pregnancy? You say you went down the IVF route yourself.
I did. I tried to get pregnant for about 3 years and we couldn't. So we went down the route of IVF, which was amazing. Itself, IVF is quite hard and a difficult thing to go through, but it gave me, at the end of it, my beautiful girl. So it was all worth it. So yeah, a lot of women are delaying having children now, which will be resulting in having IVF as well.
What would be your message to women who are trying to decide when the right time might be and maybe are putting it off?
Yeah, I think the right time is never right time. And for me, you know, if I spoke to my younger self, I would say don't leave it too late. But it's easy said than done. I definitely didn't listen to my mum when I was younger. And, you know, you just have to do it at the right time for you. But don't leave it too late. You know, think about it, because having children it's wonderful.
A lot of the research points to the fact that women are kind of getting the blame for putting their careers before their families. Is there any way around this? You know, it is a woman's decision ultimately.
I mean, no, there isn't any way around this. We give birth to children, you know, that's the end of it. And, you know, it's hard because everything evolves in life. We got different lives than we had 40 years ago. That's why, you know, women leave it later, but our body clocks don't change. That's one thing that can't change. So we can't, you know, we can't leave it too late.
IVF becoming the only option for many women, is it something that you would say, would you recommend to people? Was it something that you felt comfortable going down that road?
Yes, I mean, it is amazing. IVF is amazing. Gave me my beautiful girl, and I wouldn't have my little daughter now if it wasn't for IVF. So if that's the case and you have to go through IVF, don't be scared of it. Just go for it.
Ola, speaking of, your career, obviously the reason that you waited a little bit of time before you decided to start having children of your own, Strictly is coming up very, very soon. It's that time already. How will the dancers and contestants be feeling now right before those live shows are getting started?
They'll be very nervous. They will be very nervous. And it's funny for me to watch because I remember the nerves then. So, yeah, I'll be watching. And, I've got a few people I've got my eye on. So, yeah,
Go on,
interesting.
then.
It's a good lineup.
Who are you rooting for? Who do we need to look out for?
Helen Skelton, definitely. I'm rooting for her. Kim Marsh, Will Mellor.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to be partnered with him if I was still on the show. Just don't tell my husband.
Yeah, we won't. Don't worry. It's not like it's going on TV or anything.
No.
Thank you so much for taking the time to chat today.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
There we are, former Strictly star Ola Jordan there. Now, a group of residents and business owners in Haringey are opposing to new low traffic areas, which they say put their businesses at risk due to lack of traffic and lead residents to become their revenue source. Well, two of those calling for the zone to be scrapped on Middleton Road is shop owner Tara and resident Sean, and they've been explaining how it's impacted them.
The barriers went round the streets around our shop, which had a immediate major impact on trade along the high street. So ever since then, we have been trying to speak to the council to tell them that the trade is dropping in the shops. I mean, we're losing customers.
It is unbelievable what they've done. The roads are not even quieter than they were. For the simple fact, people are going down them, realising they can't get through, doing a 3-point turn, and then flying back the other way because they need to get to where they need to go. So the roads are more dangerous than they were before. And on about pollution, insane. They're saying that the pollution's coming off all the off streets around Bounds Green. All they're doing is putting it onto Bounds Green Road, Durnsford Road, Brownlow Road, and then obviously all round the A406 because it is gridlocked, absolutely gridlocked.
What would you like to see the council do? I mean, do you just want them removed completely? Is that the ideal situation?
I use a lot of shops on Middleton Road, one of them being Bo's Cafe, run by the lovely Alif and her family. I'm there once or twice, sometimes even 3 times a week. The last couple of weeks I've been there, I almost feel so sad for her and her family. I was the only person in there yesterday. You go in there in the morning, I believe I was in there about 10 a.m. I was the only person. That place would be thriving. There'd be at least 8 of the tables being used up. So obviously we speak about it, and I can just see her breaking down, talking about it. She was going on about her savings. She said she's got savings. Eventually she'll have to jump into them because she can't afford. She can't afford to carry on. To the point she's even mentioned she might have to just close down and go and do something else. Like the way it's affected me, like with my business, I've lost a handful of members. Tara being one of them, because she's not getting no business now, so she can't afford to pay for my service. But I go to my son goes to a nursery called CC's. I can't think of the name of the road, but it's just around the corner from Middleton Road. When I used to drop my boy off in the morning and then carry on to work. I can't do that anymore now. So we're really thinking of taking him out of the nursery and putting him into another one, Bowes Park Nursery, because we have no option. So that's not just affecting us, that's affecting the nursery we go to, which we absolutely love. They're incredible.
We want the barriers removed around the high street so that traffic can flow. Because it's stopping customers coming from further afield, our regular clients, and shopping here because they're all confused. They're worried about fines. They don't want to come. It's too much hassle. It takes too long. They'll go elsewhere. It's not benefiting anyone apart from the council who are collecting money from fines.
What will this mean for your business if something doesn't change?
Well, it's already had an impact, and I'm not renewing the lease on my shop, which is due for renewal in November, because it's too risky. It interferes with our business model, We want customers to come from further afield, and the LTN scheme restricts customers to the local area. Well, we can't survive on just local business. So I'm going, and I'll look for somewhere else, high street, which they wouldn't dare put an LTN in. Businesses here, some of them are down by up to 90%. That's a huge drop in revenue.
Tara and Sean there. Well, in response, Councillor Mike Carter, Deputy Leader of the Council, said we're introducing our low traffic neighbourhoods because we want to reduce the overall volume of traffic in and around the area so that the whole community can benefit from cleaner air and safer streets. We firmly believe that the Bounds Green LTN will also help local businesses to thrive, adding we want to work with the shops on Middleton Road by devising a package of support to promote their businesses. Officers have already met with traders and I have offered to do the same so we can discuss possible interventions to boost trade. Removing the LTN will not increase footfall on Middleton Road, but by working in partnership we can create a thriving shopping street that benefits the whole community. You're watching London Live News with Alicia Edwards. A reminder of our top story coming up after the break. Plus, the Felix Project celebrates serving its millionth meal. More on the way in the next 10 minutes.
From breaking news to headline events, the latest trends and places to be.
You can now keep up to date on daily life in London across London Live's social platforms.
Start the day with an update on the travel and weather, and know what's on around the city and what's being seen by others.
With stories from London Live's team of reporters and your videos of the news moments that matter.
Minute by minute. That's London Live News on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and more.
Find us at London Live. From breaking news to headline events, the latest trends and places to be.
You can now keep up to date on daily life in London across London Live's social platforms.
Start the day with an update on the travel and weather, and know what's on around the city and what's being seen by others.
With stories from London Live's team of reporters and your videos of the news moments that matter.
Minute by minute. That's London Live News on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and more.
Find us at London Live. From breaking news to headline events, the latest trends and places to be.
You can now keep up to date on daily life in London across London Live's social platforms.
Start the day with an update on the travel and weather, and know what's on around the city and what's being seen by others.
With stories from London Live's team of reporters and your videos of the news moments that matter.
Minute by minute. That's London Live News on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and more.
Find us at London Live.
Hello there, welcome back. You're watching London Live News at 6. A reminder of some of our main stories this evening. The father of schoolgirl Molly Russell has urged action to prevent such a young life being wasted again as the inquest began. Ian Russell spoke at North London Coroner's Court, mentioning the torment his daughter must have endured before her death in November 2017. The 14-year-old from Harrow is known to have viewed material linked to anxiety, depression and self-harm on social media before ending her life, prompting her family to campaign for better internet safety. A coroner was told Molly watched videos uploaded by a YouTuber who spoke about suicide and depression on a regular basis, and who also has 15 million followers on Instagram. Senior employees from social media giants Meta, the parent company of Instagram and Facebook, are due to give evidence in person during the inquest, which is due to take place over the next 2 weeks. A 90-year-old man from Orpington who repeatedly stabbed his blind and ailing wife after she woke him up in the middle of the night has been given a suspended prison sentence. Edward Turpin attacked his wife of more than 60 years at their home in September 2021. He was previously cleared of attempted murder and wounding with intent, but convicted of reckless wounding. The retired butcher told the court he had stabbed her in an attempt to calm her down and make her stop screaming. He was handed 2 years custody, suspended for 2 years. The gambling firm Betway will be fined £400,000 by the Gambling Commission for advertising on the children's section of West Ham Football Club's website. The betting company was allowed to advertise on the club's colouring in page for 18 months, with some links containing free bets. Well, Tom Fleming from the Big Step campaign to end all gambling, advertising and sponsorship in football, which is part of the charity Gambling with Lives, gave us his reaction.
It's important to note that they weren't alone. West Ham were one of 9 clubs, so there were 8 other clubs found to be doing the same. The direct links to the gambling company's websites were actually on the club's websites for 18 months, and it took a BBC story to force action of them to take these links down. So by that point, the damage was already done. These gambling sites, as a result, they get millions of hits every day. So sponsorship clearly works, which is something that the gambling lobby dispute, and say that sponsoring a football team doesn't increase participation in gambling with that operator, which we know is not true. And it's impossible for gambling companies not to advertise to children as a whole by sponsoring football, because kids watch football, kids go to football. If you're a West Ham fan and a child and you go to the West Ham stadium, you see your players, you see your favourite players decked out in Betway, you see Betway all over the stadium. It's inescapable. The fine is pretty paltry, to be honest, £400,000, just over. The company that owns Betway, they reported a 45% increase in revenue last year, and I think that takes them to well over 1.1 billion profit for the year, net profit. So 400 grand is pretty paltry, really.
There we are, Tom Fleming there. Some other stories from the capital today. Westminster Council claims it is waging a war on dirty money. It comes as the council exposed the extent of business rates evasion by some of the US-style candy stores and souvenir shops operating on Oxford Street. A total of 30 stores are currently under investigation for business rates evasion of around £8 million. The council is set to take the first step by passing a motion that approves signing the Fair Tax Pledge to ensure transparency in tax. Now, food charity, the Felix Project, has been celebrating 1 million meals being offered in the capital. In July last year, the charity opened Felix's Kitchen, which uses surplus food supplies to create meals for those who cannot cook food at home. The meals are then sent out to London organisations who support those in need. Well, the charity had a celebration event to mark the milestone.
People have been living in food insecurity and poverty for a long time, and COVID has highlighted that. We got the cost of living crisis now, but 400,000 children in London every day miss at least one meal a day, which is a staggering number if you think, only a small percentage of all the people in London are children. But 1.7 million people in London also live in food insecurity, which is a huge percentage from all the people living here. So what we do in the Felix Project, saving surplus food and redistributing that to almost 1,000 charities every week so they can give it to recipients, is great, and the kitchen has started to use surplus food to cook meals, because many people can't cook for themselves for several reasons, and now that's going to be even worse now with the cost of living crisis.
The reaction that we've had to Felix meals is that when can we get some more, and can we have some more? And that's a real positive thing for us, although it means that we need to do more and try and produce more meals, so we can't actually keep up with demand. But the fact that they're home cooked style, they're interesting, they cover all the different cultures, whether it's Bangladeshi, Nigerian, Caribbean, they absolutely go down like a storm. So we're so pleased that everyone loves the amount of passion that we're putting into the meals. The future of Felix's Kitchen and Felix's Meals is a really interesting one for us. We'd obviously like to produce more meals so that we can get everyone to have the meals who's asking for them, but we're already adapting and changing our service, so we're looking at larger catering meals that can maybe do family size portions. We're also looking at being able to provide community organisations with larger, again, catering packs so that they can reduce the amount of resources they need to be able to offer a warm, hot meal to someone in their churches, in their community centres. Winter is going to be terrible. It's horrible to say it, but we know that this is going to be really tough, and we'd like Felix Meals to shine a bit of light into someone's life and make them feel better about the world, and that there is hope and there are people who care for them.
The Felix Project is extremely important to our food bank. Without the Felix Project providing these meals, Castlehaven would actually suffer, and we'd end up possibly having to shut our food bank, which will then, not feed the 190 people that we feed per week, because we would not have the funding to actually replace the meals that we're getting. Funding is going down, the same as, everything going up, and our demand is going up. What we have noticed is our demographic is changing. So we have had the food bank for nearly 3 years now. So originally it was opened up for the COVID pandemic, and many people have gone away since the COVID pandemic. We're back to some kind of normal. People that are actually accessing our service now are working poor. So you've got people that are part-time workers, full-time workers, that basically are on low wages, and with the cost of petrol going through the roof, food prices going through the roof, inflation basically, they're just about covering their bills possibly, and they can just about have a small amount of money put to one side for food. They can't have the big shops, they can't go and feed their entire families, and possibly the person that's working from home, because it might be 1 or 2 people that work within the house, may go without a meal so that their children can be fed. And without Felix, the food bank wouldn't survive, because we really rely on their produce that comes in on a weekly basis. If we weren't getting food from Felix, we would have to pay for that food, as we've noticed a massive decline in the amount of donations, financial and food-based donations, over the last 6 or 7 months.
If you're in need of food and meals, look in your local area. All over London, there's food banks, there's community centres. We serve 140 schools as well, where we give surplus food through the schools to families who really need it. So, or look on your council's website where the charities are which can support you locally, because that works the best. If you're a charity, come to our website. We serve almost 1,000 charities every week, but we still have hundreds on our waiting list as well. So how other people can help us who might not need food is, we always look for more volunteers, because we have staff, but we also have lots of volunteers doing this work. We need donations, so our vans, we have 40 vans on the road every day. They need to be paid for the rent. Our gas and electricity is going up by the same amount as yours. And if you're a food company and you have surplus food, please get in touch, because we always look for more surplus food.
There we are, more from the Felix Project there on that milestone. Right, time for a break now, but coming up...
I've spent my entire life trying to make people happy, and the 3 people I love the most in the world hate each other's guts. I'm in the middle, I can't take it anymore!
A acclaimed filmmaker Mike Leigh on opening up about his films as part of a series of screenings here in the capital.
From breaking news to headline events, the latest trends and places to be.
You can now keep up to date on daily life in London across London Live's social platforms.
Start the day with an update on the travel and weather, and know what's on around the city and what's being seen by others.
With stories from London Live's team of reporters and your videos of the news moments that matter.
Minute by minute. That's London Live News on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and more.
Find us at London Live. From breaking news to headline events, the latest trends and places to be.
You can now keep up to date on daily life in London across London Live's social platforms.
Start the day with an update on the travel and weather, and know what's on around the city and what's being seen by others.
With stories from London Live's team of reporters and your videos of the news moments that matter.
Minute by minute. That's London Live News on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and more.
Find us at London Live. From breaking news to headline events, the latest trends and places to be.
You can now keep up to date on daily life in London across London Live's social platforms.
Start the day with an update on the travel and weather, and know what's on around the city and what's being seen by others.
With stories from London Live's team of reporters and your videos of the news moments that matter.
Minute by minute. That's London Live News on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and more.
Find us at London Live.
Hello there, you're watching London Live News at 6 with Alicia Edwards. Now, with autumn very much upon us, One South London Gallery is launching their seasonal exhibitions. The Southwark Park Galleries are hosting their first institutional solo show in the UK of the Dutch-Indonesian painter Mico Veldkamp. The collection is called Second Nature and explores topics of race, privilege and cross-cultural identity. Mico has been telling Henry more.
Yeah, it's such a great opportunity, and like it happened so quickly, and the space is really beautiful. Yeah, just freestanding made me like feel the space differently when I was thinking about making work there. So it partly inspired the idea of like using the orientation of the space, looking outwards to different places in the world, right? So the east corner would be pointing towards the Netherlands, where I grew up, and then the southwest wall would be facing towards Suriname, where I grew up in my early childhood, and then west towards New York, where I currently live. So I kind of used the orientation of the space of this freestanding building kind of as like jumping off points.
You explore some pretty big topics in your work, and as you mentioned just there, having been born in Suriname and growing up in the Netherlands, and you now live in the US, it gives you a very unique perspective on life, and the big topics that you look at are race, privilege and identity. So why do you look at those topics, but also your upbringing gives you a unique perspective on those topics as well?
Yeah, I think like growing up in Suriname, I heard stories about ghosts. My first solo was titled Ghost Stories, and I've been using that as kind of a metaphor in my work for how your identity changes as your environment changes. The way I'm perceived in Suriname, the Netherlands, and the United States is pretty differently. It's a pretty complex issue to unpack, but there's also a lot of potential for play. Race is a lot of times really sensitive, but I like to have a little fun with it. It's especially sensitive for certain people.
Yeah, play around with sensitive topics.
Yeah, I think, and part of my racial identity is that I know what it's, I know what it's like to be both white and like brown-skinned or Asian. And people talk about mixed race a lot of times as being like in between and not having either, which is fine. It's part of my experience, but I think an important part of mixed backgrounds is that you really belong to several clubs, basically, and that you have all the experiences.
Let's talk about some of the works then in the show that people can see. Can you describe your processes maybe, or maybe go into a bit more in depth about certain of the works that people can see?
I don't usually have a clear idea of what I'm going to paint. I just start with maybe a narrative idea or a bunch of ideas, and then maybe some ideas for color and composition, and then so I don't sketch because I think the scale and the size and the color of the canvas all matter to how a painting feels. So it doesn't feel, for me, it doesn't really work to make a sketch. So kind of just start and start with a bunch of lines that might or might not be a space, and a bunch of figures, and then I kind of built the narratives and the composition kind of organically. And then for this show, I've determined the canvases on the walls first, so I knew what canvas would go where, and I kind of like I said before, knew kind of which wall is pointing at the Netherlands or at Suriname. And then so I kind of worked at the show. I worked on the show as like a one coordinated piece. So you'll see works kind of that are opposite from each other on opposite walls. Will be reflecting certain things, even if it's vaguely a couple of shapes, or very specifically a couple of people, or a corner would have a group of people, the same group of people, but from a different viewpoint.
Miko there, and that's on at Southwark Park Galleries till the 6th of November. Now, 7 times Oscar-nominated director Mike Leigh is preparing to show 14 of his films at the Garden Cinema for a special season, which will see each screening end with a Q&A. Mike Leigh and his longtime collaborator Gary Yershon will be discussing the meaning and process of making each film with an audience for the first time. Mike told me more about what people can expect, as well as why he hasn't released a new film for half a decade.
I've spent my entire life trying to make people happy. And the 3 people I love the most in the world hate each other's guts. I'm in the middle, I can't take it anymore!
I've done lots and lots of Q&As, including for a lot of the films last year at the BFI retrospective, which was great. But this will be slightly different, because it's not just Q&As, random Q&As. Gary has constructed curated the season, if you like, in such a way as the Q&As will consist only of him and me, and it'll be a continuous discussion. And the films are being shown in order, though in 2 separate chunks. The more domestic films first, and the other films in the second lot. So it'll be kind of ongoing discussion about, if you like, the continuity of ideas and stuff from one film to the next. So that's the idea of it, really. And it seemed, given you've got this brand new cinema, have you been to the cinema yet?
I haven't, but it looks amazing. It's
terrific. It's really, really nice. And it's really a bit of an inspiration on the part of Michael Chambers, who started it. And yeah, that's the basic idea. So it's not just chatting in the usual way of Q&As, it's a sort of ongoing discussion. If some people are stupid enough, they'll buy tickets to come to all of them and enjoy the continuity of the film.
Yeah, people could really come night after night and really learn absolutely everything. You obviously will have lots of questions about your filmmaking process, but you're also going to be talking a bit about what the content of the films.
Well, you know, to tell you the truth, the subject of my filmmaking process is a well-worn subject, and that's what everybody talks about. But actually, so far as Gary and indeed I am concerned with this thing, and we may light on that here and there, but the real point is to talk about what the films are. I mean, obviously there are stylistic considerations, which is separate from the processes of making them. But yeah, it's about content as much as anything else. You know.
Looking back in the way you will through these screenings, how does it make you reflect on your own filmmaking when you do look back?
Well, it's very interesting because there was, as I say, this retrospective at the NFT, at the BFI, just under a year ago, which actually they showed not just my feature films, and at the Garden Cinema it's just the feature film, but they showed my telefilms as well and everything really, and that was cause for reflection. And then there was another retrospective about 2 months ago at the Lincoln Center in New York, and although I didn't stay for the whole thing, I went and did 3 Q&As and was around a bit. And so all of those things make you reflect. I mean, for me, the crazy thing is that I've made all these films, all of them made with complete freedom and no interference from anybody. And yet I haven't actually made a film for 5 years because I find it really difficult these days to get backing, because people are much more preoccupied with, you know, commercial considerations and stuff than ever they were. It's possible now, it looks as though I will make a very, very low budget film in the near future, but I've had a really tough time. I've been turned down by all sorts of people because they, you know, they say, well, we respect what you do and all that, but we can't really, you know, if we don't know exactly. And what they mean is, not only if we don't know what it's about, but if we can't control every aspect of it, from casting to content to, you know, all that, we're not interested. So the irony, to answer your question, reflecting on all these films and the way that people like them and remember them and things, is ironical given how tough it's now got to continue to make more, you know. So, but it's great. I mean, and it's very good to reflect on what you've done. And obviously the great thing about film is it's all about audiences. It's not, you know, but it's great to know that audiences are on it. And, you know, it's very nice.
Mike Leigh there. Now, those screenings are taking place on various dates over the next 2 months at the Garden Cinema in Covent Garden. Right, before we leave you this evening, let's take a final check on the weather. Staying dry overnight, lows of 12 degrees. We can expect a cloudy day tomorrow and highs of 20 degrees. Looking ahead to Friday, it's a mixed bag in the way of sunshine and showers. The rain is arriving in early evening and overnight into Saturday. Looking ahead to the weekend, highs of 18 degrees, cloudy again on Saturday, but it's looking like there are patches of sunshine to look forward to on Sunday. And that's all from the news team. Do follow along on our social channels. We're in all the usual places at London Live for more throughout the day, and we'll see you back here at 6 o'clock tomorrow.